Hey everyone, welcome back to the Change Your Mind with Chris Ashley podcast. I'm your host, Chris, and it's really great to be with you. Today I'm going to talk about something that I'm really passionate about, and that is quantum physics. And quantum physics has gotten sprinkled throughout a bunch of different episodes of this show, but I haven't dedicated a whole show just to it, which is crazy because I geek out about this stuff. I love talking about it. So I'm going to talk about a few different experiments, different aspects of quantum physics, and undoubtedly all of the other stuff I teach is probably going to come in, whether it's law of attraction or mindset or healing or hypnosis or anything else. If you've been following me, you know what I'm about. So let's get into it. So I feel like I need to start with the delayed choice experiment because it kind of sets the foundation for what quantum physics is about. And I'm going to try to wrap it up pretty quick. I know most people are familiar with the double slit experiment is what I meant to say. I know most people are pretty familiar with it. Basically, scientists had a machine, and it would send a single electron through a slit in a board, and it would hit a screen, a wall behind the slit. And if it showed a specific pattern on that wall, it meant that the electron traveled as a particle. And when they sent it through, they showed the particle pattern on the wall. No one's surprised. This is how we view the world, that matter is made of particles, right? You can touch things, like everything's tangible. That was the Newtonian version of physics. So they added another slit into the board. And that's when things got really interesting. So when they added that second slit, what they got on the back wall was a wave pattern. And to have a wave pattern insinuates that the particle somehow split, the electron somehow split, and the two pieces interfered with each other and then created that wave pattern. And so they were like, well, that's not right. So they set up a detector in the room, or camera, or something to watch it happen so they could see what was happening. But every time they had the detector on, only a particle pattern appeared. Every time they turned the detector back off, a wave pattern appeared. So what it taught us was that by observing something, consciousness is actively creating, and that matter, electrons, matter, what we are, is actually waves, but it appears as particles. Now, some other scientists took this a step further and created the delayed choice experiment, where they had this specific crystal, and they used a photon of light this time instead of an electron. They had this certain crystal next to the slit it was a single slit, and it would split the photon of light. And these two photon pieces would go in different directions one would go towards the wall, and then one would go towards the detector. And they were like, this is how we're going to catch it. So the same thing kept happening. Every time that the detector was on, there was a wave pattern. Every time the detector was off, there was a particle pattern. So then they got really smart, and they moved the detector way back in the room so that the first piece of photon would hit the wall before the second piece would pass the detector, because, as they thought, information can't travel backwards in time. But the same thing kept happening. Every time the detector was on, there was a wave pattern, or there was a particle pattern. There was a particle pattern. Every time the detector was off, there was a wave pattern. I might have said that backwards a second ago, but you're following along. You get it. So this basically said that information can travel backwards in time, and this just blew everyone's minds. So the takeaway is that matter is all energy, it's all vibration, it's all wave, but it appears like particles when you observe it. So the many worlds theory is a theory in quantum physics, and it's my favorite to talk about because it is just fascinating. So the many worlds theory says that, we know already that electrons are waves, and they exist in this wave function. And you could think of it like a cloud or a realm of possibilities. Now, it exists in all places at once in this wave function. But as soon as someone observes that electron and looks at it, the wave function collapses. And what that means is the particle appears at one point in time and space only. So the quantum physicists posit that every other place that that particle could have been inside that wave function actually exists in another reality, in a parallel reality to our own. One that exists in the same time and space as ours, but it's a world that we can't see, which is freaking fascinating and amazing, right? And then you have, people like Dolores Cannon, who I have talked about a lot on this show. I had a whole episode, but she was a past life regression hypnotist. She hypnotized all these people into these amazing past lives on Earth and way off Earth as well. And she, from her clients, got the information that we are not complete souls. We are fractions of a soul. So every time that you make a choice, your timeline branches. So you consciously live out the timeline of the choice you made, and another version of you on another timeline lives out the other choice. And then each time those two versions have to make a decision, the timelines split even more, and pretty soon, like, you could see how these just branch off, and there's infinite number of timelines or plays starring you as the lead actor. Now, it's so fascinating that quantum physics essentially backs this up. Like, that's what I love about quantum physics. It backs up what all of these mystics and teachers and spiritual leaders have been saying for eons. Some of what quantum physics talks about is backed up in some of our most ancient texts. And that's what gets really exciting, right? When you can back up that stuff. Because it's easy to talk about all the stuff that I love to geek out about, and someone can just say, oh, that's so woo-woo. But when you can back it up with quantum physics, when you can back it up with neuroscience, when you can back it up with biology, like I did a couple episodes back, that's when it gets really exciting, right? Because that's when you start to change people's minds. That's when they're like, huh, okay. Because some people, like, this is deep, hidden, sacred knowledge. And you know this in your very DNA. And, there might be a little piece of you that you get goosebumps when I talk about certain things, or, I don't know, it just feels right. But to be able to back it up with science, that just makes it so much more believable for so many people. So that's the many worlds theory. I want to talk about entanglement next. So entanglement says that two things, let's say two electrons, can be light years apart. It doesn't matter. Can be on opposite sides of the galaxy. And if they are entangled, they are linked. They act as one single entity. So if something happens to one, maybe the rate of spin or the direction it's spinning changes, there will be an immediate direct correlation with the other electron. So it's not like a millisecond passed and they could communicate with each other. It's instantaneous, like at the exact same time, meaning they act as one entity. They are linked. And there's the 100th monkey effect that I might have talked about in here. I talk about it in my book, and I think in some short form videos. So the 100th monkey effect says that, well, it was a story. So in Japan, off this island off of Japan, I think it was in the 50s. I have to check my dates. There was a team of scientists, and they studied this wild colony of monkeys for years, for decades. And they were feeding them sweet potatoes. But they didn't just hand the sweet potatoes to the monkeys, they threw them in the sand. Now, the monkeys loved the sweet potatoes, hated the sand that covered them. So one day, a young female monkey took her sweet potato and washed it in water. And then she ate it. And her family of monkeys watched this happen, and so they started to imitate her behavior. And then the other monkeys in the colony started to imitate her behavior until more and more monkeys were doing it. And then there was a tipping point that was just reached. And at the same exact time, monkeys on the entire island as well as monkeys on other islands and mainland Japan, all started washing their food in the same exact way. Now, it gives me literal goosebumps every time I talk about this. So it's like the information was uploaded into the collective consciousness of the breed. They're all entangled, and this goes back to quantum physics. So Drunvalo Melchizedek, who wrote The Ancient Secret of the Flower of Life, which was the book that led to my spiritual awakening, says that each breed, each species has a grid around the earth that connects it to every other member of that grid. And when new information happens, it uploads into the collective consciousness. It's really fascinating stuff. And you know, this is what's so exciting. Quantum physics says that we are all connected, right? And what happens to one of us happens to us all. So what you do affects people on the other side of the globe, right? Whether you are aware of it or not. And when you make someone feel humiliation or anger or guilt or shame or sadness, by the way, this is why I hate cancel culture. But when you make someone feel this way, those emotions, because emotions are energy in motion, they get sent out into the quantum field. And the quantum field reflects back what you send out to it. So it reflects back those emotions to the rest of humanity. And humanity gets sent more situations and conditions and circumstances that make people feel that way. And it kind of works like the law of attraction, and that's where that intersection comes in that's really exciting. So the quantum field is kind of like this giant hologram, this giant canvas, right? If you know anything about how a hologram works, you could cut it up into as many tiny pieces as you want, and each piece will still reflect the whole. So it's kind of this big mirror too, right? So whatever you're sending out there, you get sent back. And that's really exciting when you're manifesting your life, but when you're going about your life unconsciously, then that's when the law of attraction comes in, right? In the quantum realm, like you're going to get more of that back to you. And so when we look at others and place judgment and place blame and feel victimization and have this us versus them mentality, all we're doing is calling more of that into our reality. And, you know, this is not how you heal the world, right? So many people want to like fight. They just want to fight for all these causes. They feel like a victim. They just want to judge others and place the blame on others. And this is not how you heal a sick society. That's how you keep a sick society going. The way to heal the world is by healing yourself and leveling up and growing and learning and healing. And then as you do that, you become this beacon, this light for others. And as you rise and level up, you inspire the people around you, your family, your friends, your community, to level up and rise and do the same. And you can offer them a helping hand up, right? But it all starts with you. Your inner world creates your outer world. And this will just send ripple effects. You know, everyone whose life you touch touches other people's lives. And, you know, we are all connected. And people appear to be separate outside of us, but it's all part of the illusion of this reality. You know, everyone is a reflection of you. We all came from the same thing. We all go back to the same thing. We're all part of the same thing. So people appear to be separate, but everyone is part of you. So when we live our lives by love and compassion and kindness, that's what gets reflected back to humanity. And that's how humanity heals and rises up in its level of consciousness, right? We're trying to move this earth into the next dimension, the next level here, and humanity with it. Now, another really fun thing about quantum physics that lines up with spirituality and the law of attraction is that every possible future exists. This is what quantum physics tells us. It exists out there in the quantum realm. Everything you can imagine and everything you can't, it's out there. Because remember, if you can think it, it can become reality. And remember, we have all these different timelines starring us as the lead actor. So there is a timeline, a version of you out there somewhere that has every single thing that exists in the quantum realm, that is every occupation, that had every experience. Like, it's all being played out right now. And so you can call it into reality in this timeline, into your life in this timeline by choosing it, right? That's where the law of attraction comes in. And when you choose something new, that's called quantum jumping, right? Where you jump from one timeline to another because you have made the choice to not be a victim. You've made the choice to heal. You've made the choice to level up, whatever it is. And that version of you, you become a different version of you. And the version of you that stayed sick or stayed in victim mode or stayed whatever continues along the timeline you were on, and you get to move to a new one where you're healthy and you have all the things you want or whatever it is, right? Where you're empowered. So it's so fun to think about all of this. It's just mind expanding. It's mind blowing. I love geeking out about it. It's so fun. And yeah, takeaway is we are all energy vibrating. You know, slower vibrations make up rocks and minerals. Little faster vibration make up the living matter of plants, animals, humans. Even faster vibrations make up our television and radio signals. And Greg Braden talks about this in one of his books, and he posits that, you know, when the universe was created, it was expanding so rapidly that 90% of it literally vibrated out of our three-dimensional reality. And so he thinks that that 90% is where those other parallel realities of quantum physics live, right? In that 90% that we can't see. And like the human eye can only see 0.0035% of the visible light spectrum. So that means that 90%, over 90% of our world, we can't even see. So who's to say that all these dimensions aren't laid on top of ours, like transparencies, right? Because remember, quantum physics says that when that wave function collapses, those particles are in other dimensions in the same time and space as ours, just we can't access them. So I love talking about this. I could keep going on. This video is getting a little bit long, but if you have questions, leave them in the comments. I love talking about this. I love talking about how it all intersects. Because here's the thing, if you can change your mind about the nature of reality and about who you really are and about where you come from and where you go back to, then it shifts your perspective on the problems in your life, on the things you've gone through in the past. Like it makes it feel very small because it is very small, right? Because you are here having a human experience to learn and grow and learn how to use the law of attraction and have a human experience. And then you take all that knowledge back to source, right? And then we graduate from this school and we climb that ladder to other dimensions or other worlds as other beings into other levels of this school. And the learning keeps going. And that's why we're fractions of a soul with all these timelines, because you can get so much more information and knowledge if you can be in many places at once. So once you cross the veil, all those pieces of you, those actors on those different timelines reconvene, and then you get to take all that knowledge back with you. So it's like a way of doing this level of school a little bit quicker, this grade a little quicker. And we take all that knowledge back to source. That's where we're headed. And I don't know. I just don't understand why people get so engrossed in celebrity gossip or, you know, fighting about gender or whatever is going on, the latest news outrage. Instead of talking about topics like this, these mind-expanding topics, because there's so much more to life going on than you realize. And you are so much more than you realize. You are a powerful creator. Everyone else here is a powerful creator. And we are all reflections of the same and one of each other. And it is really exciting. It is an exciting thing that we are in. And we can make it whatever we want it to be. You know, you can make this heaven on earth or hell on earth. You can consciously create the life you want, Or you can get wrapped up in your anger, your control, your judgments, your prejudice, your guilt, your shame, your sadness, your frustration, whatever it is. And those are the qualities, those are the emotions that you send out into the quantum realm, into the universe. And then quantum physics or the law of attraction or however you want to look at it sends that back to you. And you're just creating more of that shit in your life. But you have a choice. You have a choice. You know, stop with the cancel culture. Stop with the media. Stop with the social media unless you're looking at like amazing enlightened stuff. Like that's my whole feed, that and animals. And you know, pick up a book, watch a documentary, attend a seminar, meditate, go within, right? And learn and go have experiences as a human. Instead of gossiping about your neighbors or watching the evening news and getting like riled up, because there is so much more to life than that. And life is beautiful and fun and it is a game. And you get to craft exactly the life you want. All right. I love you all. Have a beautiful rest of your day. And be sure to follow me. I'm at Change Your Mind with Chris on Instagram, TikTok, everything's in the show notes. Go purchase my book, please. It's called Change Your Mind to Change Your Reality. It was endorsed by 3 experts from The Secret, endorsed by Anita Moorjani, endorsed by John Gray, who wrote Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. And it's an audiobook, paperback, and ebook. And I'll see you all soon. Thanks so much for hanging out today. Take care.